Now let me take up a few of my own very challenging projects. A person who would not like to be named, and so I will just call him Babu Bhai. Babu Bhai came with his wife to my health center one day and said to my health officer, Madam, my wife has got a tummy ache. Will you kindly have her attended to by a doctor? She said, Yes. You go to your department, I will have her attended to when the doctor comes here at 11 o'clock. Well, my officer finished her administrative work earlier than she had thought, and so she went to the wife who was lying on the bed in the health center and said, Let me have a look at you, my dear. I am a paramedical person. Yes, every health officer of mine has to be a paramedical person in the sense she has got to have the degree BSc with nursing. Only 5 to 10 minutes were necessary for this young lady to make out what was wrong with the tummy of that worker's wife, or say Babu Bhai's wife. Babu Bhai's wife was expecting a child. Nothing wrong in young ladies expecting children and delivering them in due course, but everything wrong so far as Babu Bhai's wife was concerned. Why? Because Babu Bhai had been vasectomized 2 years earlier. Babu Bhai and his wife had 3 lovely children. And when there are 3 children in the family, all in good health, we advise the couple to have sterilization, either of the man or of the woman. My health officer was aghast because she knew that the child in the womb of Babu Bhai's wife was not that of the husband. She came running to me. Vijay Bhai, what do I do now? She explained the whole problem to me, and I said, My dear, let me think. She said, What are you going to think? We have got to tell the husband what exactly has happened. Yes, my dear, I retorted. Telling the truth is very nice. It is a philosophy of life, but it is not the best thing in life either. We have got to be practical. Vijay Bhai, don't involve yourself. This has something to do with a domestic matter and it is not our problem. My dear, it may not be your problem, it is my problem. He is my worker. He is rendering splendid service and I have got to save this little family. Give me 48 hours to think. She was aghast at this statement. She knew from personal experience that I would involve myself and probably get burnt. But then, my friends, social workers must get burnt sometime or other, otherwise they would not be able to perform challenging social work. Well, I had my say, and 48 hours later, I called my health officer. My dear, called Mrs. Babu Bhai, want to talk to her. Well, there was at that time an age gap of 20 years between my officer and me, but at all times in my career, my youngest officer had the liberty to talk to me on equal footing. And she said, No, Vijay Bhai, you tell me first what you are going to tell the young lady, then I will call her. Right, my dear? You have a right to know because you are her superior. I will tell the young lady that something went wrong with our operation and the child that you are bearing is that of her husband. And I would say this to the husband and the wife together. You should have seen the look of horror on my health officer's face. Vijay Bhai, you can't do that. My dear, I am going to do that to save the family. Your telling the truth to the husband will mean that the wife will be out on the streets within half an hour. The children will be without a mother. The husband will get remarried after 6 months without telling his second wife that he has been sterilized. That lady will have no children of her own and will be deeply frustrated. And who will benefit by all this honesty being the best policy? No one. No, my dear. I am going to tell the husband in presence of the lady that something went wrong with our operation. This is your child. My health officer was really very angry. She said, Vijaybai, you are being unfair to a good doctor who has performed nearly 1,000 operations in our health center. Right, my dear? There you have a point. I picked up the telephone, got in touch with the good doctor. Fortunately, he was on the line. I said, Doctor, I am in a bit of dilemma, what we call dharma sankat. Tell me, doctor, what to do, or agree to what I am wanting to do. He said, no suggestions, Vijaybai, you give the proposal. I gave the proposal. Doctor, I tell this to the husband in presence of the wife and in your presence. For nearly 30 seconds, he thought over the matter on the telephone and said, I seem to have no option. Yes, doctor, you have no option if you want to save a family. I want to save the family. You have merely to sit by my side and keep your mouth shut. Will they ask me any questions, Vijaybai? No, doctor, they will not. If any questions are asked, I will be the one to answer them. And if there is any sin attached to what I am trying to do, the sin will be mine, not yours. You have no part in it except to be present and thereby give credibility to my statement. Fortunately, the doctor agreed and said, what time tomorrow, Vijaybai? I said, 9:30. I told the wife in presence of my health officer what I was going to tell her husband the next day. And then for the first time, she cried and cried and cried. Why? She could bear the guilt of somebody else's baby in her womb, but she could not bear the guilt of Vijaybai having to tell a lie for what she had done. She was pacified by my health officer. She was sent home in the company's car, and there the matter rested. The next morning, I got a pleasant surprise. At 7 in the morning, my telephone bell started ringing. Sir, this is Babubai speaking. Yes, Babubai, we are meeting at 9:30 today when you and your wife will come and meet me and my doctor. No, sir, there is no need to call the doctor. There is no need for us to meet. Why? Because my wife has admitted everything. Yes, Vijaybai, in spite of the protection you were prepared to give, my little family, my wife could not bear the guilt of your having to tell a lie for the sin she had committed. Vijaybai, there is no need for us to meet. I was aghast at this simplicity of the woman, the honesty of the woman, and the tremendous faith she had reposed in me. I said, yes, Babubai, and what is your reaction? Nothing, sir. We have decided to forget the entire incident. What? Yes, sir. If my wife, after the protection you were prepared to give her, is still prepared to be honest with me and faithful to me, she is a wonderful lady, only somebody has involved her. Vijaybai, we are forgetting the incident and thinking that it has never happened. Yes, Babubai, that's very noble of you. I don't know how many people in my strata of society would have been prepared to do what you have done. But even so, I want you to meet and with your wife so that I can congratulate you, bless you on behalf of Almighty God, and tell you how happy my health officer and I feel at the turn of events. Do come. They came. In the traditional manner, we welcomed them, congratulated them, and then I extracted a promise from the husband. I said, put your right hand on mine and say that when next you have a little misunderstanding with your wife, you will never bring up this matter again. And that is what he did over a period of 18-20 years now. Believe me, the lady comes now and then to our health center. Sometimes I meet her. I ask her the same question over and over again. Sister, Has that matter ever been mentioned? And she says with a smile, no, Vijaybai, never been mentioned. It was buried on the day on which he had a talk with you on the telephone. What wonderful people. And what a wonderful little family. Today, Babubai's 3 children have been married, settled down. Maybe in the months to come, Babubai will be a grandfather, and may the grandfather and the grandmother live for many, many years. That is the type of people I have been associated with. That is what social work means to me. That is how you try to resolve people's problems, not always by sticking to the policy. Honesty is the best policy. Yes, honesty is a policy. Honesty is a philosophy of life. But there are times, events, circumstances when one has to tell what I did or was prepared to do to Babubai and save a little family. But that incident does not end here. That was only the first innings of Babubai. Now the second. What now happens to the unborn child? Now that the father knows that it is not his child, that his wife is carrying, what happens to that child? Do we allow it to be born? Don't ask me. Ask Babubai. But no, I did not ask Babubai. I called Mrs. Babubai and said, Sister, what do we do now? She said, you gave me a fresh lease of life, Vijaybai. Advise me. My dear, if you want my advice, have it out. Abort the child. Because if that child is allowed to be born, then it will be a standing illustration of your infidelity to your husband. And whenever there is the slightest misunderstanding between you two, the poor child will get a beating. And for no reason, it will be the child who will be blamed at all times, not so much you. Where is the point in giving birth to a child who is going to be unhappy in life? She said, Vijaybai, my pregnancy is over 3.5 months. What are my chances of survival? Sister, your chances of survival are 30% chances of an end to your life. But in the larger interests of your husband, in the larger interests of the child you wish to give birth, please take this risk. She went by my advice, she took the risk, and everything was all right because what God had given, God did not want to take away. And please remember, in those years, this kind of abortion was illegal. So I had to pay extra money to a good doctor to get the child aborted. The woman lived. She is living now. That was the second innings of Babubai's story. Now we come to the third. What about the culprit? If the culprit was in the same mohalla, in the same area, he might be tempted to do a second time what he had done the first. Of course, Babubai's wife would never be pregnant again after that abortion, but we did not want a recurrence of that. And so my labor officer, a Muslim gentleman, he was able to induce Mrs. Babubai to name the culprit. The culprit was found out, given a very strict warning that if he did not leave that area and that mohalla, we would file a suit against him, a criminal suit, for trying to seduce a married lady and maybe put him behind bars. The man got so much afraid that although we had given him 1 month's period to leave the mohalla, he did so on the 17th day after our warning, and ever since neither Mrs. Babubai nor we have heard of him. This has been one of my most challenging projects. And I'm grateful to Almighty God for the inner voice that told me to go ahead with it and not merely tell honestly to the husband what happened in his wife's case. Now I will relate two of my most challenging projects which were taken up under very special circumstances. One day I received a letter from one Hazel Shiva Rao to say that she would like to have my guidance and advice. I wrote back to her, as is my usual way, that she must present herself at my office on any working day except Saturday between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. so that the matter could be discussed. By return of post, she wrote back to me to say that much as she would have liked to come and see me personally, because she had heard of my work, she was not able to do so physically for the simple reason that she had been crippled and in bed for as many as 25 years, and whether I would care to send my social welfare officer to go and meet her and then report to me her condition. When I asked my officer, Shashi, she replied very politely and graciously, Vijayabhai, what can I do by going there? I will only come and report back to you that she is totally crippled. How is it going to help you to assess her handicap? Why not? On a Sunday morning, we both go there, look her up, ascertain her disability, if there is something that we can do for her, and then guide her. I thought that was a very good suggestion, and so the very next Sunday, at about 11 in the morning, we both proceeded to her place. She was then staying in Andheri West. We found our way to her particular flat. And what did we see? We saw a crippled lady of over 60 lying down in the bed, just alive above the neck and completely dead below the neck. Even the foot, the right one, was at an angle and it could not be straightened. Her hands did not move. And I said, Hazel, who wrote that letter to me, since you are crippled? And the information that she gave me about herself, her condition, her history, was indeed astounding. She told me that 25 years earlier, when she was staying in Kanpur, a good doctor gave her an injection which crippled her completely within a matter of 24 hours. She does not know whether the injection was wrong, or the injection was adulterated, or the reactions were adverse. Whatever it was, she was totally crippled. The charm of the whole thing was that she was not prepared to give me the name of the doctor or the name of the injection. She said, Vijay, tell me, what is the use of now going back 25 years and telling you the name of the doctor? He is a good doctor with a fine reputation, but even the best doctors make a mistake, or maybe the best injections are adulterated. So let us forget what has happened during the last 25 years and let us move forward. And during this interval of 25 years, she has reared her 3 children, meaning 3 daughters, and 1 son. They all are settled down in life. They all have children. And so Hazel is a grandmother. I asked her what I could do. She said, you are the social worker, you decide for yourself. I said, may I bring a doctor? She said, no. I will not allow any doctor to touch me. I will not allow a doctor even to come near me. Anything other than a doctor? I said, I don't know. I would like to think over the matter with my social welfare officer, who had accompanied me, of course, and then let her know what could be done for her. And believe it or not, this remarkable lady, totally dead below the neck, had during those 25 years conducted classes of children, English classes, sewing classes, stitching classes, and dancing classes, if you please. And it was one of her English students who had written that letter on her behalf. Instead of spending those 15 or 20 minutes which it was my intention to spend with her, I spent exactly 75 minutes. And I came away with deep sense of satisfaction that at least during those 75 minutes I had made Hazel forget her worry, her anxiety, her handicap. But that was not all. I discussed the matter with my officer and said, "My dear, what can we do for her?" She made an excellent suggestion. She said she is totally incapable of doing anything. She can't even sit up, she can't even move her hand or her foot. Vijayabhai, let us give her a specially designed armchair on wheels where she can be moved about, and maybe if we have one which can be folded up, it can be put in the lift. She could be taken down and then she can be made to go round in the garden, something which she had not done for 25 years. I thought that was an excellent suggestion. So we had our man sent to her residence to take the measurements. A special chair was provided and it was presented to her on our behalf by Mrs. Vimla Patil, chairman, rather editor of Femina. It has been my philosophy of life that I would be prepared to hand over something to anybody on somebody else's behalf, but when I sponsor a case myself, the presentation is never done at my hands. I invite somebody who would be helpful to do so. And this was presented in her own home 2 years ago. And within 3 months of my meeting Hazel, and in another fortnight's time, she was taken by her children in the lift, in that folding chair, out into the garden on a moonlit night, and I am told Hazel saw the full moon after a period of nearly 25 years. What happened then? Gradually, I could make out that she was improving. No, not a tablet was given, not an injection was administered. As a matter of fact, she would not permit any doctor to come anywhere near her. But ultimately, I was able to take one prominent doctor of Bombay, a great orthopedic surgeon associated with an all India hospital in Bombay. I took him as a friend, but Hazel sensed that he was a doctor and would not let him come near her. I said, "My dear Hazel, Dr. Mukherjee has come here not as a doctor, he has come as a friend to guide me, to help me to help you." She permitted him, and Dr. Mukherjee said, "Vijayabhai, in the medical profession, so far as allopathy is concerned, there is no medicine, no treatment for this lady. She is beyond repair now, and there is nothing that I can do." A good doctor's advice was, "Leave her alone." No, I would not leave her alone. A social worker never says die. A man who wants to do something for humanity keeps on knocking at all doors, hoping and praying that some door will open. And believe it or not, a door did open. Exactly a year after my meeting Hazel, I got a letter one afternoon when I got to the office, and it was written by Hazel herself. Something made her limbs move. I don't know what. My association with her, I don't know. But the good doctor said that after some time, you're going to her every fortnight, spending an hour or two with her, gradually getting closer to her body, putting your hand on her head, putting your hand on her cheeks, even kissing her on her cheek at her own request, has gradually made certain nerves to move. And for that, there is no medical explanation, except that love and affection of a particular kind brings about certain changes in the body which no treatment or medicine or injection can do. And that letter is now in my vault as one of my most treasured possessions. And the whole letter had been written by Hazel. After that, I was more and more and more hopeful that someday my Hazel would be able to get up and stand. But that was not to be. Exactly 2.5 years after my introduction to her, she felt very, very bad. She would not take any medicine because she had suffered too much from a doctor's hands. So, even the homemade medicines, even medicines which her daughters, her son, and I wanted to give her, she would not take. And ultimately, one evening, she died. I was not by her side because she had told the daughter, "Don't tell Vijay that I am not taking medicines. Don't tell Vijay that I am very, very bad. I don't want my Vijay to be by my side when I breathe my last." And only a telephone call at as late as 10:30 in the evening, or rather at night, from her daughter said, "Uncle, your Hazel is dead. Mummy is dead." And that was the end of Hazel. I shall never, never, never forget that particular project for the simple reason that Hazel taught me that you never say die in humanitarian work, that you keep on trying, that you keep on knocking at all doors with the hope and the prayer that one door will open. It did open in the case of Hazel, who was able to write, was able to converse, move the upper body, a part of the body rather freely, but the lower part of the body, below the waist, was still dead when she breathed her last. That was my Hazel. A month back, another project came up. A girl who could not even stand up came to my office. And since she did not have even a roller board on which she could sit, she just shifted her body, dragged her body right up to the chair in my office, and then two of my social welfare officers picked her up and put her in the chair. And this is her story. Name Padma, age about 26 years, married, if you please, because I saw Mangal Sutra round her neck. Married, my dear? Who married you? No, sir. When I married, I was able-bodied. I was normal. And I have two lovely children. Sorry, my dear. What happened then? The wall of my little house fell. It broke my back. And I am told by the good doctors that I'll never be able to even stand up again. What about your husband, my dear? Sir, when I became crippled, I was of no use to my husband anymore, and so he left. Children, my dear? My children are with my mother. And why have you come to me then? Sir, my mother does not want to keep me because I am no use to her. I can't earn, I can't work. So I am no use to my mother, and my mother doesn't want me, but she has agreed to keep the children. Any brothers? Yes, sir. I've got a brother unmarried. He does not want me in the house because he is going to get married and might feel that his wife may not approve of me. And so, sir, I am on the streets of Bombay. How have you managed during the last 5 years? When you were injured, sir, I was first taken to the King George Infirmary, where such people are kept, but there is a limit to their stay there. So after 3 years, she was asked to go. A kind-hearted social worker of the Nair Hospital took her to the Nair Hospital, and they kept her there for 2 years. At the end of that, the Nair Hospital also could not keep her, and so she was on the streets of Bombay once again. And that is how she came to me. Somebody mentioned to her, why don't you go and see Vijay Merchant? So she came. My dear, where will you spend the night? Sir, on the streets of Bombay. No, my dear, you are not going to do that. You are young, nice looking. Anyone will exploit you, take advantage of you. Sir, what do I do then? Wait a minute. I picked up my telephone and talked to the manager of my mills. Mr. Manager, will you keep this lady there? So many young ladies have been kept there. I wanted to be kept for just one night. And he said, sir, we can't keep a single lady at night because the factory rules don't permit a lady to stay on the premises, a factory premises, after sunset. Yes, I forgot. Why not ask another lady to stay with her? This lady goes to the police station next door and makes a statement, just as all other ladies have done, that she on her own came to me for shelter, and that for one night I have given her shelter and asked another lady to give her company. I asked a lady who is like my own sister and who is working in the mills to give her company, but my sister went beyond my expectations and said, sir, why do I have to stay here with this girl at night? I'll take her to my own home if it is a question of just one night. And so she took her to her own home, brought her the next morning. My officer took her to Asha Sadan, a wonder institution of Mother Teresa, and there we were going to give her shelter. Unfortunately, Sister Cabrini, in charge of that center, was on leave. The center was under renovation, and so they could not take on any other persons, that is, other than those who were already there, and we were asked to come over after 1 month. Well, we could not leave this girl to take shelter on the streets or on the stations of Bombay because she was a lady, she was a young lady, she was a good-looking lady. She was taken ultimately to a similar home in Chembur. My officer left her there and said she would come back the next day to make inquiries. And at night, I don't know what went wrong, but this girl Padma felt so disgusted with the treatment given to her that she nearly tried to commit suicide. No one helped her there. I don't know why. My officer went there at 11 o'clock, found her in this wretched condition with wounds on her tummy where she had tried to pierce a broken bottle to commit suicide. She was immediately rushed to the Sion Hospital and there given the best possible treatment. God was with us, God was with Padma, and her life was saved. 8 to 10 days of wonderful treatment there in that municipal hospital, and she was herself once again, and God had spared one life. From there we went to her own home, told the mother that Vijay Merchant Public Charitable Trust would pay 150 rupees per month for her keep in her own home with the mother, and that all treatment would be free during the time she was staying there. The mother and the brother kindly agreed, and so from that day my Padma is there without any treatment because no treatment can do any good to her, but we are still trying. Just as I did not give up hope in the case of Hazel, similarly I have not given up hope in the case of my Padma. The difference is my Hazel was 62 years of age when she died. My Padma is just the reverse, 26 years of age, and still many years to live, I hope.